All right, I've titled this video "This Week in NFL Analytics," but probably a better title would be "Random Assortment of NFL Analytics Things That I've Been Working On and Things That Interest Me that other people are working on." So I'm hoping to do this weekly throughout the NFL season, highlighting trends and interesting statistics through the lens of analytics, maybe multiple times during a week, maybe less than once a week. Calling this a 2023 season preview, but yeah, it's going to be highlighting, like I said, things that other people have been working on that interest me, as well as things that I've been working on and things going on in the analytics community. So let's start. First thing on my mind is the NFL Big Data Bowl 2024. It's not been officially announced or anything, but it's definitely on my mind. Around the time that the 2023 Big Data Bowl competition was announced last year was when I was just getting into doing NFL analytics, and I didn't get to compete, but I'm definitely looking forward to it this year. So I've listed the previous topics from seasons past and maybe some ideas for what this upcoming year will be like, what the topic will be like. My first thought goes to linebackers. I've never seen linebackers specifically covered, and I think tracking metrics specifically could reveal, trends and different metrics for linebackers because they're such a dynamic position. So maybe decision-making ability on a linebacker based on whether or not they think a play is a run play or a pass play, something like that. Another potential topic, I was thinking quarterbacks. Obviously, a lot of these previous topics have been passing focus, but we've never seen a quarterback specific one. So I was thinking maybe ball speed of passes and spin, if that's potentially captured by next gen stats. Another option could be like run pass option skills. It's hard to capture and define a run pass option without tracking data. So that's definitely an opportunity. And then maybe one that's a little far out there is play calling. If you could separate the design of a play from how the players perform on the play, and maybe identify the best play callers in the league just using tracking data. I think all of those would be interesting. I'm looking forward to competing this year, and that's all I got to say on that. Next thing I want to talk about is this chart from Tej Seth. I find this an interesting look at the running back landscape right now, mainly because that's the biggest topic this offseason has been running back pay and the valuation of the running back position overall. On the x-axis, we have EPA per rush, so efficiency. And on the y-axis, we have rushing yards over expected, which I believe that is a next-gen stats metric. What comes to mind here is a lot of the running backs that were holding out for a bigger contract, people like Ezekiel Elliott and Saquon Barkley, are not in the first quadrant here, which is theoretically the best, most efficient running backs. Jonathan Taylor is in that quadrant, so maybe he's the one that understands his value more than the other ones. I don't know. I just thought this was an interesting way to look at running back efficiency, and apparently Rashad Penny's the greatest running back of all time. So we'll see how he does this year. This one comes from @Mr. Case B. I believe his name's Sebastian. Him and Ben Baldwin work together on a lot of things, but it's kind of market implied win totals and Super Bowl odds and stuff like that. Some of these surprised me, namely the NFC North. I'm all for the Vikings succeeding this year, but almost 40% odds to win the division seems a bit of a reach to me. More on the NFC North, I think all three teams besides the Vikings are just at the beginning of their, I don't know if you want to call it a Super Bowl window or their competitive window, and it seems like the Vikings, this may be their last year in that window. A couple other things, I totally agree with the 49ers having the greatest odds to win their division. I think they've got a good chance of doing that. AFC West, I don't want to be the one to say that the Chiefs won't win it this year, and I think they will win it this year, but maybe some of these percentages are a little off. I think the Broncos at 11.8%. I know they were pretty bad last year, but I don't know. I'll be interested to see how they do. So yeah, that was an interesting visual to me. This is the first visual by myself. This is 2022 quarterback performance. It comes from ProFootballReference.com. They've got some actually pretty good advanced statistics. On the x-axis, we have average depth of target, and the y-axis, we have bad throw percentage. The reason this interests me is because it's the one quarterback chart where Patrick Mahomes isn't alone in the upper right. Another thing that interests me, Justin Herbert having such a ridiculously low bad throw percentage and a ridiculously low average depth of target. I think the Chargers are one good play caller away from becoming extremely competitive, and it seems like they're kind of holding back Justin Herbert a little bit. So that was interesting to me. This one also comes from Tage Seth. It's an article. I'll link it in the description, but maybe some leap quarterbacks to look at. He defines a leap quarterback candidate as somebody in between their second and fourth year. People that I'll be looking for specifically, maybe I'm biased, I live in Chicago, but I think Justin Fields will be very interesting this year. It seems like he's got no more excuses when it comes to not winning games. He's got a theoretically elite left tackle now in Kendall Wright, and obviously DJ Moore as a target this year. So we'll see how that goes. This one also from me. I did an analysis on how receivers tend to perform after their first 1,000-yard season. So on the left, you'll see the 6 receivers that had their first 1,000-yard season last year, and kind of a trajectory of how other first 1,000-yard seasons, of how they follow up on that. So as you can see, it kind of trends downward. A lot of these run to 0 or near 0, and I think injuries are a potential explanation for that. But besides those ones that drop to 0, the general trend is downward. And I've kind of written an explanation on who I think could, buck that trend. I see no reason why Devonta Smith couldn't repeat. Christian Kirk, I have some more slides coming up on how adding an elite wide receiver 1 tends to lift a wide receiver 2. You may think it takes away from their target share, but sometimes from an offensive perspective, a rising tide lifts all boats. So that was a fun analysis for me. Here's the explanation here. As you can see, there's a positive correlation between wide receiver 1 EPA per target and wide receiver 2 EPA per target. It's not a very strong trend, but you can see that as the wide receiver 1 is more efficient, so too the wide receiver 2 becomes more efficient, which theoretically translates to yardage. So I think Christian Kirk it maybe is being not as valued heavily from a fantasy football perspective, but that'll be interesting to see. The Jaguars in general are a very exciting team, in my opinion. And I believe this is the last slide. This is from Ben Baldwin. I thought this was an interesting take on offensive line projections. So I forget what was PEPA, projected EPA, I think, something like that. But he kind of tried to isolate just the offensive line and their projected EPA output. So if you put, for example, the Eagles number 1, 0.15 EPA per play. If you just stripped away their offense and replaced them with average players and kept their offensive line, you could expect, according to him, 0.15 EPA per play, which is a very elite level. That's like Kansas City Chiefs level. So I think that just goes to show how strong the Eagles' offensive line is. And what surprised me here the most is having the Packers at number 2. I did not realize they had that strong of an offensive line, but it's very interesting to me. And I thought this was an interesting analysis. I think I'm going to, maybe a couple weeks into the season, take a look at how these have fared out and maybe look at offensive line ratings and see if this was accurate at all. So I appreciate you guys watching.